Hello, welcome to the NFL show here on the Under Center podcast. Dara here with you. We are back after a couple of weeks off. We are here just in time for the trade deadline, and we're going to be keeping an eye on that for you for the next hour or so if any big moves happen. Being a moderate day, not too crazy, not too quiet, so I think I've been happy enough. Of course, I said Dara here. I'm joined full house tonight with Rian, Fionn, and Al. Because the biggest trade today is to do with the Commanders, I'll go to Fionn first. Marshawn Lattimore is traded to the Commanders in exchange for a 2025 third, fourth, and fifth round pick. Yeah, I know you didn't know that, did you?
No, that seems like a lot compared
That's a
to what these
lot.
wide receivers
Yeah, they got
Pro
a
Bowl
seven,
wide receivers going for a fifth round pick.
Yeah, they got a seventh round. The Commanders got Lattimore and I think a seventh round back in return.
Pause.
The Chiefs are also in for Lattimore, but it's Washington where he ends up. So, Fionn, I guess your thoughts before I told you the compensation package, and now your thoughts after the compensation package.
Yeah, look, I think Washington definitely got better. Defense is where the problems have been for Washington this season so far. I think offensive wise, most of the gaps are filled. You could always do with another wide receiver, but defensively, I think is somewhere where we're going. It's obviously not going to stop the run, something we struggled with against the Giants, but having another cover corner, I think it gives them a little bit, and Dan Quinn a little bit more leeway to be a bit more aggressive on defense. That might help things out going forward. A bit more coverage on the back end, always good for the defensive line and the rushing there. So yeah, you never know. I do think, obviously, as you told me, seems a bit steep now what we gave away to get him. But look, 4-time Pro Bowler, definite talent. It's not similar to getting Stephon Gilmore or someone who's kind of over the hill. Not obviously the youngest player ever, but not outrageously old that you're kind of going, oh, this is a 1-year patch he might hold around. I think the big significance for me is that we've seen in the media and a lot of people in the know, the kind of NFL insiders, have been suggesting that now agents, for the first time in about 20 years, are starting to hear, hey, if you can get me there, I wouldn't mind joining the Commanders. And that's something that we have struggled with always during free agency. We lost out both from players that we were competing for against other teams, and even re-signing our own free agents, we quite often lose out against them. And obviously, turnover for every team is quite high, but when you don't have that pull power, which Washington didn't with ownership, I mean, still the facilities are not really where they should be for such a, I would argue, prestigious or long-term NFL team. They should definitely have better facilities than they do. So it's nice to see at least that the win-loss record is starting to be appealing to these free agents, and I think ultimately it'll make the Commanders better and more competitive as the years goes on. I don't think that it's a championship push this year, but when you can get players as the caliber of Lattimore onto the roster, I think it bodes well for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah. Some breaking news as well. Darius Smith was obviously traded earlier on from the Browns to the Lions. His brother, Preston Smith, is leaving the NFC North. He's leaving the Packers, and he is going to the Steelers in a surprising move. So the Steelers' defensive line gets a whole lot stronger with Preston Smith, and now they're along with, of course, TJ Watt too. Ring, you gave me a bit of a look there on that one. Your instant thoughts on the Packers letting Preston Smith go?
It's a bit of a surprise to me. I don't particularly understand it. He's a guy who's been contributing to that Green Bay defense for an awful long time now. Sure, he's getting on in years, a bit like he's 31 and on the line. That's generally a little bit on the older side. But at the same time, you're in a season where arguably the Green Bay Packers are in their best position for making a championship run. Particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They've patched some holes there, and they're playing much better than anybody expected them to coming into the season. So letting go of a pass rusher like that, it's an interesting call to me. Not sure I fully agree with it, but we'll see where it goes. Maybe the Packers are eyeing somebody else up at the trade deadline, and they needed to shift a bit of cap space. So who knows?
Well, look, I'm following Rap, and It's never good when in the tweet they say the word veteran. Veteran to me usually means old and expensive, and I think that's probably why they shifted him on. If the Steelers were willing to pay out for him.
It's not the old part; it's the expensive one is the reason probably why they're getting rid of him.
Yeah, I think after
Go
the
ahead.
Lions game, I think they realized that they're not really going to contend this year. You know, they've got a good record, but like they're not a contender this year. I think they know that. I think they might just stash some picks for the drafts next year, and I think that would be smart. To be honest, I don't love it now. Like they're struggling on both sides of the ball, but they're struggling on defense. But they're not contenders. I think they know it, and I think they're just going to kind of plan for next year.
By the way, Preston Smith is not related to Zadarius Smith. That's what my initial reaction, my facial reaction was. Are they brothers? And then it turns out, yeah, no, they're not.
I thought I could get one of yous with it, but obviously Rian has had his cornflakes today, so my bad on that one. But the Steelers is not the only piece of business they've done today, and I'll go to you on this one. They have also traded for a wide receiver. They've been on a hunt for one for the last little while. They thought they had Brandon Ayuk. They thought they were going to get Devontae Adams. They got neither. They have now gotten Mike Williams from the Jets after he has been deemed surplus to requirements following said Devontae Adams trade earlier on in the season. Your reaction to Russ getting a new weapon on the wide receiver room?
I don't think it adds much, to be honest. He flashes like he's good, but like he's not a game changer. He's not a number one guy that you're gonna throw to 10 or 15 times a game. But given the Steelers' lack of depth at that position, it is a good ad. It's good help for whoever they end up going forward with, whether it's Russ. It looks like it's going to be Russ, or Fields. It's good depth there, but I don't think it's going to change much because there's a reason he was traded. Apart from the Jets having really good depth at wide receiver, I don't see him making a massive difference. I think it'd be good. I think there'll be an improvement there. I just don't think it's as big as some people might think.
Well, he pops up with the odd highlight reel catch. At least he did in his time in the Chargers. I think his last season with the Chargers, he was quite consistent, but it's the thing that always held him back was injuries. Injuries have always held him back. He's always missed chunks of the season because of that. And, paying, I think he was only on a 1-year deal with the Jets anyway. So he's taking on the rest of the Steelers are going to take on the rest of that for a 5th round pick. Steelers don't mind that. Steelers always find 6th round wide receivers in the draft that end up being fantastic anyway. So I don't think they mind losing a 5th round pick. But speaking of wide receivers and possibly the strangest trade that we've seen so far today, Jonathan Mingo traded to the Dallas Cowboys, which was teased earlier on in the morning by Jerry Jones, saying he was about to make a move for a wide receiver he's admired since college. It is Jonathan Mingo. It's a 4th round pick as well.
Which college did he even go to? It must be one of the Texas ones, no?
For a player, obviously playing wide receiver, on a team that has just put their starting quarterback on IR for 4 games as well. At what point does Jerry Jones have to know? At what point does Jerry Jones know that this season's a wash?
He doesn't. He's deluded as fuck. Going out and making that move. Plus, absolute robbery by the Panthers, right? A 4th rounder for a dude who had 6 targets on the year and only made 1 grab? Are you serious? A 4th rounder. That's insane to be given up for a guy of that caliber. Considering only last week we gave up Deontay Johnson for a 10-place bump in the draft. So it was Deontay Johnson and a 6th rounder for a 5th rounder. That's nothing at all. Insanity. But
only last year he was picked in the very top of the 2nd round, 39th overall.
Yeah.
And he
a
went
lot of
to
potential.
Oh, Mississippi. So not a Texas boy. That's what I thought. If he was watching him from college, I thought, oh, maybe it's like some random guy from college. Maybe it's me. I thought I was up on college football. I had never heard of Mingo up till now.
I remember a lot of people were really high on him in the draft. A lot of people were really surprised that he, fell that far. But yeah, he's been such a huge disappointment. I mean, in fairness, like, not much going on the Panthers. Like, Bryce Young hasn't been brilliant. So
No, but he's had his place in the depth chart taken by Jalen Coker, who's an undrafted free agent this year, coming out of bumfuck nowhere. There's no reason for him to be
Prestigious school, I heard that is.
fifth on the depth chart. Yeah.
Is that where you guys got the sphincter catch guy from? Bumfuck Nowhere University.
He was LSU and another fucking bum, high round bum.
Loose Sphincter University.
sounds like that Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he a speedster? Because I'm just looking at his very minimal stats from the last two seasons.
He's big. He's big.
10,
Like
roughly about 10
6'2",
yards a
220.
catch. That's not bad. Now, he doesn't have that many catches, but 10 yards, that implies a guy who gets past the line of scrimmage anyway, or gets past the stakes.
He came out of the same university as DK Metcalf, and everybody compared him to DK Metcalf. He had better stats than DK Metcalf at college. He just wasn't it.
Well,
Like,
DK Metcalf broke his neck in college, so like
yeah,
anyone who played, their full seasons would probably have better stats than DK Metcalf in college.
Yeah, in 13 games in college, he only had 5 receiving touchdowns in his last year. I don't think that's particularly class for the domination. I think he's one of these. I'm just reading this on Wikipedia, literally live. I think he might be one of these guys, who becomes a bit of a legend off one game. He had 247 receiving yards against Vanderbilt. And I think that's probably what made everyone go, oh, he's got tape. And 5 touchdowns doesn't scream that to me.
Vandy are renowned for being one of the worst defenses in the SEC, and that's saying something because the SEC doesn't really fucking focus on defense at all. So yeah, go figure.
Rough.
Yeah. I don't see anything else happening at the moment. A little quiet. Let's move on to some other news. Dennis Allen is out in New Orleans. The second head coach firing, I should say, the season after Robert Saleh. He lost his job after losing to the Carolina Panthers at the weekend. The Saints sit at 2-7 on the back of 7 straight losses, starting the season 2-0. Oh God!
Did I have them on my first fraud watch list? I hope I did, because that would have been.
You better off.
I think you did, because
knowing my opinions on Derek Carr, I'm sure that I did.
I think Alex might have had them on one of his top defensive lists as well.
Maybe. Well, look, in fairness, they do have a pretty stingy defense, but I have to say, I agree with Michael Thomas. I don't know. I also agree with Derek Carr. I don't know what he ate that set him off to go absolutely ham on Twitter, but everything he said struck me as what Derek Carr looks like from afar in terms of just not being the guy. And it's interesting to see that his own players, or at least some of his own players, don't feel like he's the guy. Also, speaking of things, I know we're moving on a little bit fast, but also Anthony Richardson has continued to be a problem. And I think the Colts issue now is, we kind of posited maybe 3 weeks ago of like, what do you do? It turns out it's a very real issue they're going to have to face about whether you get Anthony Richardson snaps or you keep playing Joe Flacco and try not to lose.
Well, apparently it was a big issue in the locker room. Multiple receivers came to the head coach saying that they would seek a trade if he was not benched, which is just an awful endorsement of the guy. I mean, I know he's got great physical traits and he's got all that potential, but if your receivers are coming along going, I don't want to be a part of a team with this guy on it, that's fucking bad. He must have a terrible attitude to go along with the stats, because we have seen guys be really bad. Baker Mayfield at the Panthers, Sam Darnold at the Panthers, but they all got the vote of confidence from the players in the locker room. this guy just seems to rub people up the wrong way.
I think
Well,
the thing that
he has
stands
a-
out for me. Sorry,
He has a
Gareth, go ahead.
QBR. So I was just going to say he has a QBR of 36.9. He has a completion percentage of 44.4. He hasn't passed 1,000 yards yet passing this year. And he only has 4 passing touchdowns in total. I can understand why receiver is getting pissed off with that.
Look, I think he's missing a lot of subtlety in his game, and I think the Commanders found the same thing where I don't remember his name, but the guy who came out of Ohio State, again, only played one season, scored like 53 touchdowns that season, but that was the most amount of top-level football he played up to that point, and he struggled on the Commanders, and I think we're seeing the same thing with Anthony Richardson. He has unbelievable talent, and I was
Is it Dwayne Haskins?
Haskins, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a show that pointed out of, yes, his completion percentage is not great, but there were several passes that he tried to make that the same receivers that said if he's not benched, I won't play, didn't manage to catch. And also offensively, you can see on the tape that the Colts are trying to push the ball down the field, because if they were worried about him heaving long ones, they just wouldn't give him deep routes. They'd give him like intermediate to short routes. So clearly it's something they're willing to gamble on. But I totally agree. I see where they're coming from. He's so raw. You can see it on the tape. He makes one fantastic decision with an unbelievable throw on top of 5 really dodgy ones. And so it's that temptation that all these top-level quarterbacks have. It's like, look, if you give them time, they will carve any NFL defense if you can get a good offensive line. He hasn't got a particularly good offensive line at this moment. Arguably, they have some good names on that line. It's probably an underperforming unit for them. But at the same time, little bit hot and cold, very difficult for him to get a rhythm and do things properly. And I think that comes with reps. But I would also, I'm, as you know, a big fan of, like, we need to stop playing rookies with like 0 experience from day one in the NFL. It's just killing them. And they always end up in these bad situations. And it gets them absolutely destroyed. And look at Sam Darnold. Is he the MVP? Probably not. But is he clearly way better than anyone thought he was when he originally joined the league? Absolutely, because the situation was not good, and they forced him to overplay from where he was prep-wise. And now that he's had some time to develop, you can see a clear change in just in terms of his decision making.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree with that sense, and we talked about it before. Playing rookie quarterback shouldn't be the thing straight away. I know there's exceptions to the rules, but even Patrick Mahomes sat a season when he got drafted behind Alex Smith in Kansas City. The fact that teams, I don't know if it's teams or fan bases more that expect these quarterbacks to come in and perform right away. It's just not working. It's
the temptation. It's the Daniels, it's the Strouds, it's the one in the whole draft class that just makes every GM and every coach go, oh, what if we have him? And also, it's the CBA. They're on cheap money for the first 4+ option year. If you don't get the most amount out of that, like the Chiefs did for Mahomes, then you end up paying wild money. What is it? The top 5, the top 6 quarterbacks pay per year, haven't won a single Super Bowl between them. It now becomes, if you're the next starting quarterback to have a contract renewed, you're going to go up into the $45 million price bracket. Teams just can't afford to do that anymore. So they need the guy that they're paying to have as much experience as possible by the time he gets to that point in his career. I think that's causing the suffering for everybody.
Well, I think that's the issue there that I think teams face. That it's not quarterback contracts now are not a case of the best quarterback is getting the highest contract. It's the next quarterback is getting the highest contract. If they have any sort of production, and teams fear of having to go back into a draft or get someone else, and instead of keeping the guy that they may have, like accepting mediocre performances and rewarding it with huge contracts is huge. And the fact that they want to get that full, money's worth at the start, where I know they're saying they're on cheapest chips contracts, but nowadays rookie contracts, especially if you're first round picks, they're not cheap as chips anymore, especially quarterback.
That's kind of what I meant. Is they're so expensive to start with, you feel like you got to play them. And then you also have to play them because they get so astronomically more expensive once you've got through that first rookie deal. So they're already expensive. The only chance you have is with the kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys who are on like league minimums That's where you get the real value from. But and look, the fan bases are as much to blame. The ownership is as much to blame. It's not just the coaching staff. It is not. I don't want to say it's not acceptable, but the level of pressure from the different angles that comes in when you've got a first round pick sitting on the bench these days, it's just the expectation. And many fans are saying, I can't believe this, but at the same time, way more is drowning that out, saying if you've got a first round pick, you have to start them. For instance, I don't know any Commanders fan, unless Daniels looked terrible from day one. I don't know any Commanders fan that would have been happy starting with God knows who, Mariota, for the season just to develop Daniels. And it's that temptation, right? Every so often you get one, and it's worth it then. But other than that, it can destroy more careers than it makes. That's for sure.
Well, hindsight is 2020 in that aspect. But you mentioned, like, we talked about, quarterbacks that are, exceptions to the rules in terms of that. And you mentioned Stroud. Stroud was having a bit of a, not down, but a kind of underrated poor second season this year. He's not hitting the heights of season one. Maybe teams are figuring them out a little more. I don't know, but there's always that second season drop with high performing rookies, and there's nothing to say that Jaden Daniels won't experience the same thing next year either. Some people just adapt quickly, but can they continue that level of success? And I guess if you are hitting such a height like that, where Stroud was, I think he was rookie of the year last year anyway, but he was the outstanding rookie of the year last year. And, Jaden Daniels looks like he's going to be it this year. Who's to say he won't have a drop next year? An interesting side of it, and Rian, you could actually give some insight on this. Bryce Young comes back into the lineup now after taking a bit of time out and has not been terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's something has clicked for him, in the sense that he's no longer looking super panicked in the pocket. One of the main things that frustrated me a lot watching him play in his rookie season and then starting into this season was a lot of the throws he was making were overthrows and sky balls. It's the kind of stuff that happens when you don't get your feet set as a quarterback. You don't get behind the ball. In the last couple of games that he started, he really has been putting a bit of zip on it. Now, I haven't been super impressed with the spiral he's been putting on the football. His mechanics, I think, need a bit of work. But he looks more confident now. He looks like he's able to get behind the football. And at that point, when the confidence starts growing, who knows what we have there. Now, is it too late for him? It probably is in Carolina, unless he can make a push to come back full-time as the starter and really kind of string some games together at that position. I think Carolina are probably going to end up drafting a quarterback next season. But yeah, it's an interesting little wrinkle to that situation. If he can pull some wins together, we might not be drafting so high. So maybe he gets another season out of it just off the back of that.
Al, you've been very quiet there the last little while. Your view on rookie quarterbacks or sitting quarterbacks?
I was going to chime in a couple times, but Fionn was kind of making a lot of my points for me. I do think there is like a real problem with how teams and the NFL in general like evaluates college quarterbacks and how they think they can just slot a quarterback into like a really shit team, because more often than not, it's going to be one of the bottom teams who's drafting one of these guys. For every, Burrow and Stroud, like we were talking about, there's 10 or 15 Bryce Youngs. Bryce Young is the rule, and your Strouds and Burrows and Mahomes, they're the exceptions. So when you're drafting one of these guys in the first round, like the high first round, as a bad team, you can't just say, oh, well, we've got all this, we've got this high draft pick, we've got all this money tied up in him, like we have to start him. It's like, no, what if your team fucking sucks? Because if your team sucks, he's not going to do well. And that's a fact. That's not, oh, well, maybe, in X situation. No, because we've seen what happens time and time again with these guys that have all the potential in the world, and it's just ruined in 2 seasons because the team around them sucks. But then you have guys like Brock Purdy, an absolute nobody, dropped into a monster roster, and then he does really well, and he keeps on improving because he's not just getting killed every single week, you know? And it's not like, oh, they just completely missed him. No, he just wasn't that good in college, and he wasn't even that good to start with in the NFL. But because he has such a good team there, he's improved every year. As much as it pains me to say it, he is now actually a good quarterback, you know? And that's more how you should, you know, build your teams, is build everything else out, or at least build your offensive line out to protect your quarterback, give him a couple of weapons, you know, and then, you know, put him out there. But just throwing these rookies to the wolves, we've just seen time and time again, it's going to fail. You're going to waste a draft pick. You're going to waste a load of money, and you're going to waste 4 years. So I think
it's interesting,
it's
though.
silly.
One point on rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks before we finish. I think it's interesting seeing the dynamic between the head coaches of the young quarterbacks who are succeeding in the league at the moment. And I think it kind of correlates a little bit that they have young or new head coaches to go along with the young successful quarterbacks. I think mainly that's because in the past we've tried to shoehorn college quarterbacks into NFL systems. So great point would be the Jets with Zach Wilson. They tried to put Zach Wilson in the system that was already in place with the Jets, and obviously that wasn't going to work out because Zach Wilson was not the right caliber of player to play there. I think a great point with this one is, now obviously Dan Quinn has been around the league for a while, but I believe he's a first-time head coach. Is the Jaden Daniels situation. You know, if they were trying to play that kind of Kirk Cousins generic quarterback style with Jaden Daniels, I don't think it works out as well. But they have implemented a college style playbook for Jaden Daniels so as he can succeed. People are now starting to understand that the quarterback does not need to fit the system. The system needs to fit the quarterback. And it's just an interesting thing that I've noticed in the past couple of years with successful young quarterbacks.
Yeah. Just a quick note on that, though. Dan Quinn has head coached before. He was the head coach of the not the Falcons. He was the head coach that lost the Super Bowl as well, the 28-3 game. Yeah.
Okay.
That was him.
Defensive coach, though.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely defensive coach. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm just looking at teams here. Just looking at the standings at the moment, and teams possibly that could buy or sell in the last. I'm not too sure. I think it ends at 9 o'clock. Is it? Is the trade deadline?
6 East, 4 Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah,
so
so it's 9 o'clock. Yeah. So an hour left. They have an hour left to get some trades in. And, you know, Fionn, there's one team that you're looking at maybe possibly that should look at buying beforehand.
Yeah, so I kind of looking at the Bucks and the Hawks, to be honest, to see if they can get in. I know probably your Seahawks, they're probably not, but the reason those two guys jump out to me is like they're not too far away from winning the division. They're just behind it. The NFC, what is yours? The NFC West. That's super packed at the moment. Like any one trade could really add a lot of value there. Would you guys consider the Seahawks pretty trade positive, or usually they don't trade that often?
Well, see, this is a whole new regime.
Just to cut in here while we're on this topic of Seahawks trade, they traded for Brandon Scherf from the Jets.
Oh.
An hour ago.
Yeah, no,
missed it from rap.
No, you haven't. Now, be careful. This is the day that.
I got got.
You can get caught.
It's really convincing.
How you got caught.
I was like, why would the Jags give up Brandon Scherf?
He's available for trade.
How did they do that? Because that's his name.
Yeah, he's available for trade. Yeah.
I would
Very
take that
interesting.
because, like, interior offensive line, like, our guards are the 2 worst in the league, and it's not close. I don't care what any other team says. Oh, our guards are worse. No, they're not. Like,
Wow.
they're so bad. They might as well just
Save,
not be there.
save it all for the Seahawks show later. Save it all for
Just
the Seahawks show later.
while we're
I think-
there.
I think that
Um,
whole NFC West is an interesting one, right? Because you've got the Seahawks. Obviously, I feel like Geno Smith is playing okay. They've been doing okay, but they need to get a couple of extra wins somewhere. And if you can add that value via trade, I think it's interesting. I think the same goes for the Cardinals. They're obviously top at the moment. And for the 49ers, they're down quite short on wide receivers at the moment. Their wide
Yeah,
receiver one a
well-
couple of weeks ago was literally shot in the chest. So I'm wondering, like, any one of those teams, and I guess the Rams as well, but they're pretty locked up as far as I know in terms of cap space and things. That's really going to limit them what they can do.
Well, the Cardinals did make a trade today, or was it today or last night? Baron Browning, outside linebacker,
That's a
went
good trade.
to a good player from the Broncos.
Yeah, I have to admit that's why I'm prefacing a lot of this. I'm not fully up on who's moved where, and obviously it'll depend on, like, I think anyone who's already made a trade, I don't think is going to be really pushing the trade deadline unless you've got a really big gap, which I don't think the NFC West really has. The other one I was looking at, the Bucks, as far as I can tell, they haven't traded for anyone this year. I don't know necessarily nothing. I'm not super familiar with the roster in terms of what gaps need to be filled, if any. Probably wide receiver. They're going to be short on wide receivers again now with Godwin out. But Kate Otten has stepped up pretty well in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, that's another team that's almost in the same thing, right? They're just a couple of games behind a shaky Atlanta Falcons. We know how valuable it is to win the division, guaranteed entry into the playoffs. You don't need to leave it up to the wild cards. So that's something, that's another team I'll be keeping my eye on. Again, not necessarily because I think there's someone they should be going after or there's a gap that they need to fill. Just the value you could pivot your season on, I think, is particularly high with a team like the Buccaneers at the moment.
I don't know. This move sort of went under the radar, and Reen, you'd actually be a person to give some insight on this. Norv Turner is back in the league. He is a offensive advisor because his son Scott has taken the vacant Raiders OC job.
That's interesting. That is very interesting because they have a couple of very good tight ends out there in Las Vegas, and North Turner is renowned as being a tight end whisperer. He's the guy who made Greg Olsen into what he was with the Panthers. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with Brock Bowers. Obviously, Brock Bowers, with the way he's been performing, doesn't need a whole lot of whispering, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see him back out there and what sort of impact he has on that Raiders team.
Mm-hmm. It is an interesting call. Obviously, the Raiders sort of cleaned house on the offensive side of the ball, getting rid of Luke Getsy, I think it was the O-line coach as well, and the quarterbacks coach too. Forgive me, I don't have their names offhand. Damian Pierce saying it was his decision. You're getting rid of coordinators this soon in the season. The next person to go is the head coach.
That's
Could it be
scapegoat.
A bit harsh getting rid of the quarterbacks coach. Like, what's he supposed to do?
I know. What are you meant to do,
working with?
Aiden O'Connell and Gardner
He's
Minshew?
got-
Like,
his quarterback room is just a big pile of shit. Like, what can
But
you do
they
with
didn't
that?
need to go and get Brock Bowers. They could have got somebody else in that room with where they were drafting. They decided not to. They decided Gardner
They
Minshew
correctly
was
decided
good
not
enough.
to get a quarterback because that's silly. They should
Yeah,
build the team first.
Look, I didn't think into as kind of, what do they call them, layaway quarterbacks or bridging quarterbacks. Minshew's not the worst. I mean, he did some nice things with the Colts. He did some nice things with the Eagles. He's in a very similar position to where the Commanders were literally the last 5 seasons in a row. Like, he's probably a good backup level of NFL quarterback. So he's not going to lose every game. He's probably going to get between 4 and 6 wins. Any more than that, and you're really having really good luck with him. So if you're going to bridge, I think Gardner Minshew is fine. I agree with Al. I don't think there was anything necessarily tempting him. And Now you've got Brock Bowers, and every year the quarterbacks are the same, right? There's always 3 really good ones that everybody wants. If you put yourself in a position to get them, you're shaking your head this year, Rian. You're
This year
yeah.
they all stink except for Cam Ward.
well, look how who's actually who's going for the first pick at the moment? Do
It'll
we
be
know
Sanders.
No,
Not-
I mean
Not
Yeah.
correctly, but
who's got
it'll
the
be
first
Sanders.
pick?
Who's
Not the Panthers.
Is it the Patriots?
They can't
Are
even
they
tank
locked
properly.
into number 1?
It'll
at
be the
moment?
Patriots, yeah, at the
Are
moment.
they only a 1 win still so far?
No, they got 2 wins.
Let me
Oh,
see.
they won. That's right, yeah.
Both of their wins have come against the Jets.
I
this
have
year.
the New York Giants at the bottom. So unless that pick gets
Oh, really?
transferred somewhere, they are currently bottom.
going on strength of schedule.
Oh well, they
Going
could.
on God knows what. But there's
They could.
Jesus, the league is bad this year. I'm looking down.
Yeah, I know.
I go like, oh, 2 and 7.
The
And you got,
first-
but you've got
the-
2 and 7, 2 and 7, 2 and 7,
Yeah.
2 and 7, 2 and 7,
Yeah.
2 and 7, 2 and 7, 2 and 6, and 2 and 6. That's
Mhm.
Yeah.
going
And then 3
downwards.
and 6, 3 and 5, 4 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 and 4, 4 and 4, all the way up to the wild card.
Yeah.
Like,
It's bad.
holy, yeah.
I'm at 1,
Good
2,
lord.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I mean, no
9
wonder
teams
Joe Burrow wasn't
with 2
fucking
wins.
worried about missing the playoffs. He's like, we're grand.
Yeah.
Every
At the
wild card
moment-
team
at
at
the
this rate
moment,
is going to have a
technically-
losing record.
I should say, though,
Even-
at the moment, technically, New England is the number 1 pick, followed by Jacksonville, New Orleans, Carolina, and then Cleveland.
Yeah. Fuck.
Vegas is 6th.
That's grim.
Vegas
Yeah.
is 6th. You might get someone else is going to take Cam Ward just to be spiteful, I'd say.
Yeah.
That's the other problem, right? If you
Well,
happen
it
to get a bad
depends,
year,
like-
someone's taking the quarterback last year, he hasn't settled in yet, and you're just sitting there above the guy that you know definitely needs a quarterback this year. You
I
do a lot of
believe-
messing.
I believe there's a couple of good edge rushers in this class. They could go early and a quarterback could slip. Because
Good.
there is,
Well, like that,
mediocre
there is a
cornerback
lack.
and mediocre wide receiver for a 2-for-1.
Any standouts in buttfuck nowhere in this year?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. Let's have a look then at any other one. No other news at the moment. Just having a look at anything coming in. I don't think so. Everyone's
It
just saying
always
goodbye
comes
to
in
the
the
players
last
that they're
15
trading.
or 20 minutes. They all just come at the same time.
Yeah. We're going to get a run at about 15:15, I'd say, till about half,
Yeah.
and then it'll go quiet for the rest of the night. Yeah. No, it
How
doesn't seem
screwed
like
are the Dallas Cowboys?
They're fucked.
Dak is now multi-game absence. I read today, multi-game absence, and he's looking
IR,
for
yep.
second opinions in terms of treatment.
Oh,
didn't
that's
you-
season ending if
Never
he's
good.
looking for second opinions.
But
Yeah.
that's what I was worrying. That, or if it's not, then what is the point of having an internal staff for the Dallas Cowboys if the quarterback doesn't even trust them? Do you know what I mean? If it's a muscle strain or whatever it is that he's going to get second opinions for
they-
something that's not.
They do that a lot, though. I mean,
Hmm.
you hear that a lot with players getting second opinions. I don't think it means much. I just think it means, well, maybe, this expert in, X hospital might, be a specialist in hamstrings. So,
Possibly, but I think they're really in trouble. I'm going to look now what their schedule is for the next couple.
oh no,
of-
they're done. They're done.
well, they're definitely going.
They're done.
Did you find it was a little strange though on Sunday that Cooper Rush came in against the Falcons and Trey Lance is third string now.
No, that's
not
not
good
strange.
for Trey Lance.
Because
I
Trey
thought he
Lance
would
was
have.
awful.
I thought he would have been second string at least.
No.
I-
No,
like,
did you see the preseason? He didn't get many snaps now, but he played and he looked just as bad as he did in San Francisco. He hasn't grown at all. He looks awful. Everything he looks like when we were watching him in San Francisco, everything was off. His mechanics were off. Had no confidence. His timing was off. Like everything was off. He overthrown, underthrown, everything. Nothing has changed. It was exactly the same.
All right.
Do you
Okay,
think
fair enough.
Cowboys
I
have a
I don't know. I just thought what a huge drop, and it kind of pisses me off even more that the 49ers are still able to be in a Super Bowl window. The fact that they gave up so much to get him, and he is trash. But yet, the same draft, they pick up Brock Purdy with the last pick, and
they survived him.
They survived it.
they're a survivor.
I think Shanahan made a deal with the devil, and it's coming due now. Next year.
Yeah, these Seahawks fans are always praying for doom. The only lad that ever got doomed in the NFC West was Russell Wilson, and I call it. And I'm not seeing any doomage happening to the 49ers anytime soon.
But like we thought the check.
Well, they are pretty
we thought the
sticky
deal
this
was
year.
coming for the Rams, and then they went
Yeah.
because they were going to sell Cup and Stafford, and then they go and win 3 straight, and now they're 4-4 back in the division. And they're like,
hockey the Seahawks.
We might hold on to our players for a little longer.
They handled the Seahawks so easily. They didn't even need Puka Nacua. He was like, I'm going to knock some bitches out on the way off the pitch.
Slap a bitch up.
Well,
If
I
you're-
know they're
wouldn't
not
say-
famous
I
for
wouldn't
If you're gonna
brain
get
cells.
ejected-
Good
overtime
Lord.
win is handling them easy.
If you're going to get ejected, at least make a punch worthwhile. He didn't even hit him that
Uppercut.
hard.
Why is no one doing
Yeah.
the under the face guard? Like,
Under the
everyone's
face.
like-
and why are you hitting
knocking
the
on the
face
bloody-
cage? Yeah. You're going to break your own hand.
But going back to the Cowboys, do you think there's a chance they finish bottom of the NFC East? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
the Giants are trying real hard.
The
to keep
Giants
crap.
are stinking, man.
I think,
The
look,
Giants
they
are
made it hard
stinking,
for
but
for the Commanders.
have
but
you
they always
seen
do.
the Cowboys?
But hey, Daniel Jones, for the first time in 672 days, threw a touchdown at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
And his stat line at halftime
did.
was, what was it? Was 4
One
of 9
touchdown,
for
0
yards
yards.
and 1 touchdown.
Look, and I
Trucked
say it,
a D tackle as well, going in for a touchdown.
That was impressive.
That
The
was
man
nice.
can
That was
run.
pretty
The-
good, though. Yeah,
the man can run, but look, I think our problem is we always make them look good. We always find a way to make the Giants look good. I think over the last 4 or 5 seasons, we were what was the stat? 4-8 against the New York Giants, and now they haven't been amazing those few seasons. So even with the back-to-back sweep, we still haven't closed the gap on them. Hopefully, we can win another few. But yeah, I think I'm just looking at the Cowboys. Next 3 games: Eagles, Texans, Commanders.
Yeah.
And then into the Giants, and then they finish Bengals, Panthers, Bucks, Eagles.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Should we
think
also mention-
there's another
also
Commanders
mention-
game in there somewhere.
No, they played the Commanders twice, haven't they?
Yeah, no, they haven't played them at all
They
yet.
have. Yeah, they have. Oh, you're talking Cowboys. Sorry, I thought you meant
Cowboys,
Giants.
yeah.
I
Cowboys,
thought you meant
Cowboys. Yeah, Giants is
Uh,
finished.
Just go back onto the Giants so very quickly. We have gone nearly the full show. And we haven't mentioned it about Jude McAnemy.
McAtamney.
I don't.
Yeah.
Jude.
Wow.
Let's talk about Jude.
McAtamney.
Jude Mack.
Yeah,
Classic
let's talk about
Nordy
Jude.
name. That's a northerner if ever.
Yeah, Jude Mack.
McAtamney.
Jude Mack. Yeah, first Irishman to score points in the NFL since I think the 80s. Great achievement.
Brilliant.
59
Pissed me
years.
off though that
He was
the Giants
fucking
kept going for
dodgy as
2.
shit. He nearly put it off the post twice, even on the extra point. You might want to fucking cop on if he doesn't want to lose his job pretty quick. The fastest Irishman ever to lose a starting position. Will we see those all over Twitter and fucking
Jesus.
Instagram? Nah, look, it's great. I love it. I love Daniel as well. Daniel Whelan on the thing. It's nice to see them be like actually good players, not like a kind of an Irish gimmick where the US lads don't give a shit. Like Whelan has been winning special teams player of the week every now and then, so that's kind of cool to see. I've been genuinely petitioning Panini, and this is real, sending them emails to be like, make a Whelan card so that I can collect it. And I wanted to make them for all the Irish lads on the PO. Charlie Smith kicks 0, 100% completion rate.
I mean, I'd say you're not far off. I don't know how many punters get trading cards, but
Not
if
many.
any punter is going to get one, like he's probably arguably the best punter in the league right now at the moment. Like he is putting a lot of kicks inside of 10 yards. He's been impressive to watch.
Yeah, like I was looking it up because I actually thought every player got a card, like really obscure ones, and that they're just in all the packs. But no, there's only about, I think, 200 cards per season released. So Some teams don't get that many. Some teams get more. Obviously, as you said, it depends on how much of a league star and a team star. So you'll get probably 4 or 5 lads per team, and then a couple of extras then, depending on who's the stars around the league are. So, yeah, unfortunately, they didn't get back to me. They just told me they don't do it. But I will continue to press on and hopefully get a Makatamanamani, would probably spelled spelled right as well. I think that'd be cool.
Keeping it
A
with
reverse
the
hollow.
keeping it with the Irish side of things, and you mentioned Daniel Whelan.
His hair is pale and his skin is ginger.
Proper.
The reverse Shinjo Makatamani card. Woo!
Daniel Whelan is on track for the Pro Bowl by all accounts. I don't know what the metric is for punters, but yeah. Hey, look, listen. To say I have an Irish player in the NFL Pro Bowl is some achievement.
Yeah, for the first time since 1973.
Yeah,
I don't think there's ever been an Irish Pro Bowl.
Yeah, Billy Boco. From Buck nowhere.
From Navan.
He's a fucking...
Right, okay. So I couldn't remember the name of the college when I fucking said it. He's from Holy Cross, Massachusetts. That's bumfuck nowhere I've ever heard.
That is bumfuck nowhere.
It was accurate.
It was very accurate. Listen, it's hitting 8:15. You got nearly 8:20 here. There's still nothing happening on. Oh, actually, the tweets that are coming out from journalists now are players are staying. So they're not being traded. So
Ryan, Bryce Young is staying in Carolina.
Yeah. DK Metcalf is staying at the Seahawks. Unlucky, lads.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Unlucky. Is he that good? I don't think he's that good. I think he's very one-dimensional.
He is very good. I don't think it would be
that
smart
one-handed
to
choke block
is a
flag, by the way. Legal.
I don't think it would be smart to trade a very good wide receiver for maybe a good wide receiver or a pick. Like,
well, Gino
don't trade
can do
good
it all,
players
though,
unless. God.
Be extra. I have mixed feelings. Here, DK or Bryce Young? Because I feel like Bryce Young is more important.
DK for Bryce Young, straight up.
He's obviously one of your opponents, Ray, and saying, "Thank God they're keeping Bryce Young."
A Saints fan, thank God.
Yeah, Saints fan.
Mark safe from Bryce Young.
Who starts for the Saints now?
We have one. We have one. Rams are trading Tre'Davious White to the Ravens.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one.
He's been allowed look. He's been allowed look for a trade for the last 6 weeks or so. He has not settled in with the Rams, and he's not even playing, which I found strange.
Oh,
now is this right? Have you been caught?
Yeah, no, this is Tom Pelissero.
No, that's
I see it. Yeah,
I checked this time.
Okay, the Ravens. That's a good That's a good one for them. So they got Deontay Johnson earlier on the offense, and now they're getting Tre'Davious White on the defense to help with the cornerback room.
I mean, if anyone should be buying, it's the Ravens because they look good this year.
For a 2026 7th round pick, not bad either when you consider 26. what Washington gave up for Lattimore. So that's reasonably good value as well. I don't think were they particularly shallow at cornerback, the Ravens. I know Hamilton's been playing pretty well.
But they weren't deep. They weren't like an injury would cost them.
No, he is a safety. Yeah. But in terms of coverage and stuff, they've been pretty solid on the back end.
Yeah.
Well, no, they have a few other guys have been put on IR recently. 3 of them actually have been. So they've been kind of
that's true. Weren't they playing with rookies there the other day?
Yeah. So Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens, and Nate Wiggins are probably the 3 that have been starting, and then obviously Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams are the 2 safeties. Eddie Jackson actually plays for them now. Oh, jeez, I didn't know that. But yeah, look, I think it's a good move. They obviously are in win now. They think they have a good chance this year. But you still have to get past Patrick Mahomes and the referees. But actually, that's one thing I want to say.
And they have to get past Lamar Jackson in the playoffs.
Oh, they have to get past themselves in the playoffs. Yeah. Ravens fans should have kept Queen. You're not wrong about that. You're not wrong. But I am sick to death of seeing right tackle for the Chiefs, Juwan Taylor, false start on every snap, and it's never called.
He's just perfectly timed.
It is not perfectly timed.
No, he jumps it every time.
Every single time he jumps it. And I think at this stage, the refs just feel sorry for him. Like, he's grand, leave him. He's having a good time. He's having fun out there.
I think they might feel bad
the
for
Chiefs
calling
get a lot
him.
of stick. The Chiefs get a lot of stick, but Lane Johnson does the exact same fucking thing. He is early every single time. Every single time.
Not
like
as early, but yeah. Yeah, Lane Johnson
TV,
times it better.
If you see it on the TV, how were the refs not seeing it? Well, look, I guess they couldn't see it.
We saw what
face mask.
was it? What game was it? There was two refs staring at what quarterback was it? Getting his face mask pulled.
It was Sam
were looking
Darnold
at him.
for the Vikings
Yeah.
against the Rams. Yeah.
Not a flag, and they were like,
The man
"Oh,
has
we
his
just
head in
didn't
his
see
hands
it."
going, "Oh, what have I done?" And
that one as well, where he actually walked away with
He
his
knew
head
what
in
he
his hands
did.
because he knew he
He
messed
knew
up.
what he did. And then the refs afterwards were saying, "Oh, just they didn't see it," and then there was stills from both refs just staring directly at it. They've been
They actually
awful
had the
this year, like
perfect
every game.
camera angle from behind the end zone where you could see the Whitecaps' line of vision was right at the quarterback, and his head was turned nearly 90 degrees. No, nothing at all.
Yeah, but he's
Totally
not
legal
going 90 minutes ahead. Like, he's going fractions ahead that is clear on slow-mo, but like
the one that's
These
doing the
refs are-
rounds,
No, there's
the one that's doing
a
the rounds
lot
on
where you
social
see
media
it.
is like a full step and then the ball gets snapped.
Yeah. No, like he's well out of his stance, and the ball has not been snapped yet.
maybe
So-
he's figured out that like when you do it as an interior offensive lineman, you don't get called as much as an outside.
He's a tackle. He's a tackle.
Oh, is he a tackle? I
Yeah.
thought he was a guard.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
And like he lines up like really uniquely. Like he stands out from the start anyway. Like
Yeah, it's so obvious when it's a pass play with him because he has this fucking mad stance.
yeah,
that
because
gives it
you know
away,
the way they were enforcing the illegal formations like
Yeah.
a lot. He was called multiple times a game, every game for 4 weeks. For that, and that's because he lines up so far. Like he's clear. Like
In
the
the
ref
backfield.
is looking at him, and you can see him really clearly lined up, borderline incorrectly, and then he goes.
Taking
He's
an
well out
extra
of his
step
stance
into
by
the
the time.
backfield.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's a good place to wrap it up. I see if you only want to talk about DJ Moore and that potential walking off the field thing. I don't think he really walked off the field. I think he was already out of bounds. He looked like he was injured as well.
I thought when I
Yeah.
saw it, I thought it was he thought Williams had stepped out, like the play was
Yeah.
over, and he just like continued to like on the sideline, and then obviously once he'd left, then he basically can't come back in anyway. So, although you never know, you might spring a block or something. It just says you can't be the next person to touch the ball, not that you have to stop play.
Yeah, there was another video towards the end. I think with like 5 seconds left in the game, I think Williams was hurt and he hobbled off, and I think there was nothing from DJ Moore to see if he's all right. I think they just really want the head coach gone in Chicago, and I think they're trying to find any way of, pointing it out to say, look, this is why you should go because these two aren't getting on, or what's your man Stevens' name and that stupid fucking thing that he did against the Commanders, that's all because of the coaching's fault. It's not because he was being an arrogant tool by giving it out to the fans and everything like that. So, it's always the coaches. It's always the coach's fault.
Yeah, wasn't this coach of the year last year or whatever?
No.
Matt Eberflus
No.
Yeah, who was? Oh,
barely
who was
made
it?
it through the season.
Loose.
Yeah.
Who was it last year?
Coach of the year?
Yeah,
My guess
Never
would have
mind.
been my guess would have been
I
either
remember-
Shanahan or Andy Reid. Oh, Stefanski. Stefanski.
Stefanski.
Yeah,
That's who it
because I
was.
remember
I knew it was
being
some
kind of
bum
wild.
ass team had the coach of the year on it. And that meant
Look
they
how
were-
that's working out.
Yeah.
idiots.
Might as well be fucking Eberflus.
Right, we're
At
wrapping
least
it up
Eberflus
here.
is winning.
Yeah, go back and coach
Yeah.
bullfuck nowhere.
Right, we're going to wrap up this edition of the show, lads. It's been a few weeks, but I appreciate all the time I have today. If you want to hang around for some more NFL talk, myself and Al are going to be back in a few minutes. We're going to be talking some Seahawks exclusively. So hang on there to the Under Center podcast, either if you're watching this on Twitter or on YouTube. We'll be going live soon again to have a specific chat about the Seahawks. But until next week, when we'll do more NFL-centric things, stay safe, and we will see you soon.